This video has been sponsored and approved by Ridge.
A top rap star is busted.
Jay-Z turned himself in tonight and the cops started working on his rap sheet, accusing him of a stabbing at a trendy party.
During a party celebrating a new release by rapper Q-Tip, Jay-Z and his crew surrounded the 33-year-old Rivera and his 29-year-old brother Corey. Witnesses say that Jay-Z allegedly plunged a knife into Rivera's stomach and smashed a bottle over his brother's head.
The date is December the 2nd, 1999. 5 years before Jay-Z would fake his retirement with the Black Album, 10 years before he'd end T-Pain's career with the death of Auto-Tune, and a whopping 15 years before Jay-Z would collect his title belt as the most fearsome defender in elevator boxing. That was all yet to come for a young Sean Carter, who in 1999 was gearing up for the release of his fourth studio album, Volume 3, The Life and Times of S. Carter. An album that we of course remember fondly now for such legendary bangers like Big Pimpin' Baby, a music video that taught a young 6-year-old trap lord Ross to love big booties, long before the Kardashians had come along looking like dollar store knockoffs of the hip-hop honeys. And of course that music video was where Dame Dash taught us all just how you're supposed to act appropriately as a CEO in the workplace. Don't worry, after that model got all the champagne out of her hair, she got a great pension. But beyond the commercial success of Big Pimpin', Volume 3 was also legendary for album cuts, like the iconic DJ Premier produced track So Ghetto, which in my opinion is still one of the best songs Jay-Z has ever made. Being an album track, So Ghetto never actually got a music video, but at least it got a high energy performance on TRL for New Year's Eve.
Every time my verbal is iller than verbal killers, an old dog and minutes, I build start the finish, I rip apart containers, I'm hot.
Ooh, this shit gets me so hyped!
And now a word from our sponsor.
Chris Rich on the beat, shout out the Ridge. Ridge gang, come on. I just got a Ridge wallet and it's so sick. It's so light and sleek, baby, what a dope fit. I slide it into my pocket and it don't stick out like my old wallet, shout out to the Ridge. The Ridge wallet's so tough, it's a wallet for life. I saw your old wallet, man, it made me wanna cry. Buy it, you can send it back if you don't like, but I doubt you will. I rate my Ridge 5 out of 5. RFID blocking protects you from the scammers. Over 30 styles, so the Ridge will match your swagger. Best wallet that I've ever had, and that's no cap, cause it holds 12 cards and has room for all my racks. I just got a Ridge wallet and it's so sick. It's so light and sleek, baby, what a dope fit. I slide it into my pocket and it don't stick out like my old wallet, shout out to the Ridge. Shout out to the Ridge, get 10% off today with free worldwide shipping and returns. Just go over to ridge.com/TLR, that's ridge.com/TLR, and use code TLR, link in description, baby, go show some love.
Anywho, on December the 2nd, 2 days before Jay-Z's notorious birthday, he hit the stage at a party to promote that album's pending release on the 28th of December. But unfortunately, that event didn't quite have the energy that it should have. Because at the time, Jay-Z and his peanut-headed business partner slash coattail rider Dame Dash were ludicrously livid about rampant bootlegging and piracy of that Volume 3 project that had apparently leaked in full way beyond its intended release date of the 28th. And apparently on such a downer at this whole situation at that event, Dame Dash went as far as to grab the mic and scream, "Fuck the bootleggers," like some sort of Rockefeller Elliot Ness. Now bear in mind, this is 1999, long before the internet as we know it today. No Spotify, no LimeWire, hell Napster was only 6 months old at this point. So most likely, when we're talking about bootlegging in 1999, we're talking some dodgy geezer down at the swap meet with a trestle table of burnt CDRs and photocopied front covers of your favourite albums. Or in my case, as a schoolboy with a backpack full of burned copies of the Slim Shady LP that I was selling to the teachers for £1 a pop.
Back in school, used to sell pirate DVD CDs.
Anywho, after a tense launch party for an album that was due to release in a month's time but everybody already had a pirate copy of anyway, Jay-Z headed over to Q-Tip's release party for his Amplified album at the Kit Kat Club in New York.
Just about 11:30 last night when rap star Jay-Z, surrounded by his usual entourage, strolled into the Kit Kat Club here on West 43rd Street.
Fun fact, the Kit Kat Club where this story went down is actually the same nightclub where Melania Trump met her future husband, what's his name? And also, for the record, that's the Kit Kat Club spelled with 3 Ks for some reason.
KKK? That's not good.
Anywho, apparently, Q-Tip's album release party was a star-studded affair. Even Diddy was there. And bear in mind, this is only weeks before Diddy would upstage Jay-Z's act of violence by getting all tax tone in the club with Sean. Anywho, when Jay-Z arrived to the KKK club, he ran into a record executive named Lance Rivera. He was a budding industry mogul who had made his name after meeting Biggie Smalls in 1994 and offered to bankroll Big's early career. He then went on to run his own record label that was even involved in the release of some of the music of the notorious B.I.G.'s proteges like Lil C's, and was personally responsible for producing hits from the likes of Cameron and Junior Mafia. Now, there are actually two competing narratives as to why Jay-Z decided to get all OJ on Lance in the club. Now, the official story is that Lance apparently was somehow involved in the bootlegging of Jay-Z's Volume 3 album. But alternative simp-based theories have been put forward, suggesting that this beef was actually all over a chick, specifically Charlie Baltimore, who some may know at one point was a love interest of the notorious B.I.G., and she'd signed to Lance's record label, which Biggie himself had played a role in starting up. And the source for this narrative that the beef was over Charlie Baltimore actually stemmed from pink-coated rapper Cameron himself, who referenced it on the song You Gotta Love It in 2006, and again in an interview with DJ Who Kid in 2016.
Jay liked Charlie at one time, you know what I'm saying? And that was a big girl, you know what I'm saying? And then unfelt that I was just feeling that was the artist and Jay was teaching her the business. It was just it was all and Jay shit. They could say a song leaked or whatever, but it was over Charlie Baltimore.
So according to that story, Jay had been trying to shoot his shot with Charlie, and Lance had felt this was disrespectful because she used to be Biggie's girl and also she was on his label. But for the record, this narrative has kind of been meekly denied by Charlie herself.
They say Jay-Z stabbed Un because of you.
Oh my God.
Did you hear that one?
I've heard it, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, I don't know what niggas stab niggas over. I ain't got nothing to do with that.
And in my honest opinion, there is probably an element of truth to this narrative that's maybe been blown out of proportion or misinterpreted over the years. So most likely, there's probably a handful of different personal gripes that maybe Jay and Lance had with each other, which caused a whole bunch of tension underneath the umbrella of the bootlegging allegation. Anywho, regardless of exactly why this happened, we know for damn sure that it did indeed happen. According to Jay himself, he confronted Lance in the VIP section after people had told Jay that it was Lance behind the bootlegging. And Jay actually said later in his 2010 book Decoded that he was surprised that Lance squared up to him after being confronted. Who knows, perhaps Jay-Z's recollection of this incident is maybe downplaying the fact that Lance was probably being hot-headed in this situation due to the perceived disrespect of Jay shooting his shot at Charlie Baltimore. Apparently after this initial confrontation, Jay actually backed down and returned to his crew in the club in disbelief. Now it's unclear exactly what the next move was. Maybe Jay's goons gassed him up to go back over there and settle things, or maybe he just popped over to the buffet section to grab himself a sturdy steak knife. But reports say that not long after this initial confrontation, Jay's crew caused a big commotion in the club, which Jay used as a cover to smash a champagne bottle over Lance's brother's head and stab Rivera himself in the abdomen and shoulder with a 5-inch blade. Though it's worth mentioning that some other news outlets reported that it was a slash to the abdomen and multiple stabs in the back. But hey, whatever way you look at it, Jay-Z is really out here scoring on his ops like he's trying to win the golden boot. Shit, I wouldn't be surprised to find out if he joined OFB at this rate. But once again, it's worth bringing up for the record that Nas actually said on the Jay-Z diss track Ether that it wasn't Jay, but one of his goons that had actually done the stabbing, suggesting that Jay only wanted to take credit for it to supplement his street credentials. But once again, this allegation by Nas has never been corroborated by anyone else, so I think it's safe to assume that Jay-Z's knife work is indeed cray and that he did the drilling himself. Anywho, Lance took that ching in like a champ and was immediately rushed to hospital, where legend has it, he cooperated and even gave Jay's name, which to me is likely proof that Nas's suggestion on Ether was complete cap. So Lance was rushed to the hospital, and after that point was scored, Jay-Z and his boys dashed out of the club and laid low for a hot minute. But of course, it wouldn't take long for Jay to eventually face the consequences of swinging that sword like some sort of Marcy Project Zelda. Jay-Z later described this incident as feeling like he was in a blind rage and didn't even realize what he was doing at the time. But then again, maybe that had something to do with the finger he had in his butt at that time.
Cops say the hip-hop star was fingered in a stabbing inside a packed nightclub.
The following evening, Jay-Z surrendered to the police and was placed under house arrest. Explosive news that the media at the time were eager to gobble up.
A few hours ago, police here at Midtown South arrested Sean Carter, better known as Jay-Z. The rap star voluntarily turned himself in here at the precinct earlier this evening. Now, Carter is being held here in connection with that stabbing fight that erupted at the Kit Kat Club last night.
Jay-Z brought in the expert legal help of Harvey Slovis, who had also represented Diddy, who quickly got in front of the press to evasively say that Jay had nothing to do with this.
He's not involved in this, period.
He was at the club?
That's my only comment. He wasn't involved in this.
So it was someone else that did the stabbing and the hitting?
I didn't say that. I said he was not involved in it.
And then even going as far as to later tell the press that Jay-Z was cooperating with the police fully. Wait a minute! Jay-Z cooperating? But I thought made men weren't supposed to make statements, Jay? Jay-Z out here cooperating, he might as well change his name to Takeshi Carter. Now initially rumors were floating around that Jay-Z had actually been hiding from the cops, reports that were disputed by his team.
Now Slovis goes on to say that at no time was Jay-Z hiding from the police, that they were in touch with cops all day and that they're trying to resolve this as gentlemen.
And after turning himself in, he was quickly released on a $50,000 bail. And then over a month later, in late January 2000, Jay is indicted in a Manhattan criminal court, where he initially pleads not guilty. A bold move considering the fact that had he been found guilty on felony assault at trial, he could have been facing 15 years. Which is tough, but at least he'd have got out just in time for Solange to still put the beats on him. And it seemed like from here, Jay really beefed up his legal team, which was later expanded to include super defender Benjamin Brafman of Diddy, Martin Shkreli, and Harvey Weinstein fame. And from there, this dream team surely got to work, publicly capping, saying that they had witnesses and videotapes that proved Jay-Z was nowhere near Lance at the time of the incident. But on the other hand, it probably didn't help the defense that following Jay-Z's arrest, Lance Rivera had filed a civil suit against him. But in a major legal finesse, Lance didn't end up going through with that suit, because according to the Associated Press, Jay-Z actually settled with Lance out of court for a figure reportedly between $500,000 and $1 million. Hell, 500 racks to hold one chefing? Get Rock Nation on the phone, I'll take one, right here, right here. As the details continued to come out, it was pretty clear that this was half payout and half hush money, with E! News reporting at the time that following this payout, Lance informed prosecutors that he would not be appearing at the trial. And so with this giant finesse in the rear view, it seemed for a moment like Jay-Z was actually going to go to trial with the prosecution's key witness and victim missing, and leaving him likely to beat that case harder than I beat my meat in quarantine, baby. Hey, and if the guilty until proven innocent video is anything to go by, R. Kelly probably gave him some advice on how to beat that case on set. You should just say it wasn't you. Just say it wasn't you. Although initially it seemed like Jay-Z was lacing up the gloves to fight this case, he ended up having a last-minute change in perspective. It seemed like, having seen P. Diddy's gun charge play out so publicly, even with some of the same legal team Jay had, Jay was spooked that the prosecutors might be out for his blood after Diddy ended up finessing his way out of the gun charges, and Jay was in fear of ending up getting slapped with a 10-year bid like your boy Sean. And so he decided that it wasn't worth the fight, a decision which he also discussed in his book Decoded. So, in October 2001, a very shrewd move, Jay-Z pled guilty to stabbing Lance Rivera in the club under a lesser charge of third-degree assault, landing him a sideways W, no prison time, and 3 years probation for a second-class felony. The worst of which meant Jay-Z couldn't leave New York without the permission of his probation officer. Honestly, a small price to pay to avoid 10 years of bottom bunking with your boy Shine. But then again, I think Shine's jailhouse toilet wine is probably a darn sight more tasty than Ace of Spades. Jay-Z was actually seen outside the courthouse signing autographs while his lawyer Benjamin Brafman gave a statement. But unfortunately, although news articles I've read have said that this was recorded, I haven't been able to find any footage of that. So instead of that clip, here's a picture of Benjamin Brafman alongside a cheeky-looking Martin Shkreli for good measure. Luckily for the fans, later in 2003, Sway would finally come through with some answers in an interview where Jay-Z opened up about the incident. To be honest, it was a bizarrely romantic, candle-lit interview, where it looked like the only question Sway was looking to have answered was, can I put it in yet?
You had an incident with Rivera, you know, where you pled guilty to charges of, I don't remember exactly the charges, assault with a, is it assault with a deadly weapon? Is it?
They would have never let me be out here with you if that was the case.
You stabbed him, okay?
Funnily enough, Jay-Z actually described this interview as the best thing that ever happened to him.
In hindsight,
I believe that was the greatest thing ever. This is gonna sound crazy, but I believe that helped me. You know what I'm saying? Because that put the brakes on everything. That let me know that no matter how successful you are and how much you're on your road, it can all stop.
Yes, with hindsight, you can tell that Jay-Z really is one smart cookie, because he used this embarrassing moment of hot-headed rage where he nearly lost it all as a good learning experience. And he continued to reflect on this incident in a 2013 interview with Vanity Fair, where he discussed the fact that he was used to having this kind of nightclub brawl from his days in the streets. And who could forget Jay-Z musing on this incident in his self-reflection anthem Kill Jay-Z. And I think this highlights a really important thing to remember with this story, story and just with my channel in general. I know sometimes I get a lot of flack for covering things that involve violence or a lot of street shit, and I know that everybody is interested in those stories because they're wild and out of the ordinary and explosive. I know nobody wants to sit around and watch a trap law video about the time that Jay-Z rearranged his spice rack, but I want to make it very clear, these stories aren't all about pointing and laughing about the tough spot that somebody ended up in their real life. These stories should be seen as lessons as what can happen in real life situations. But remember, Jay-Z got to where he is today not because of his real life street credentials or violent experiences, but he managed to become a self-made billionaire mogul in spite of the tough background he came from. And over the course of the last 3 decades, he's clearly been constantly committed to personal growth and learning from his own mistakes. And he saw a situation like this as an opportunity to change the way he was moving and get off of the negative spiral of behavior that would have left him sleepwalking to prison off the back of old bad habits from a past life. And so even though it's a negative story, I want to salute Jay-Z for getting some growth out of this situation and realizing the negative path of self-destruction he was going down while he still had a chance to change the course of history. And I hope that every young'un on the channel that I talk about, from NBA Youngboy to Russ, can learn from their dramas and other people's dramas and continue to build a better future for themselves and their families. And you know why that is? Because at the end of the day, Hove did that, so hopefully you won't have to go through that. Peace to the Rock, I'm out.
Shout out to The Ridge for sponsoring this video. Go check them out, link in description. Also want to give a humongous shout out to my Patreon gang. We received around $326 this month, which of course we are making sure goes to worthy causes. I've just topped that up and made a donation of $650 to Feeding America, which is going to provide 6,500 meals for families that need it. So I appreciate everybody in the gang for making that possible, and I'm wishing everybody the best in this difficult and yet still for some reason ongoing time. It's a nightmare that it's going to end soon, I hope. And of course that means a big shout out to the patrons themselves. That's DeJuan Jones, Van Johnson, Jay, Sebastian Andres Laredo, Sean Anderson, Vampires for Hire, Roberto Rosas, Mateus Martin, Deshaun Campbell, Antonio Groza, Bash the Prince, Chris J, Claire Audion, DJ Fred 100, Griffin Fuller, Henry Bryant, Jaden Cho, Jason Wyman, Javier Gonzalez, Jessica Simmons, Kizzlebot, Niraj Shukla, Otaku VS, Penis Bag McPenis Face, Pyromancer, Vivi, Wilson Psychedelic, and of course all of the other names that you can see on screen right now. We thank you, and thank you for making a difference and continuing to support the channel through this hard time. It means a lot to me. I'm sure it means a lot to other people, so thank you. Appreciate everybody watching, and once again, shout out to The Ridge. Go and cop one of those. I've been loving mine. It's actually been sick. I really, really like it. So I'd recommend it. I like it. I mess with it. Appreciate it. Peace.